I never imagined the day would come when everything I believed in would burn to ashes. He said he needed a new beginning, but that new beginning wasn't with me. It was with someone else, someone I never saw coming. For years I thought we had something unbreakable. I trusted him with my heart, my dreams, my whole world. And yet, one night, I stumbled upon a secret so dark, it shattered my entire reality. It started with a simple message text that glowed on his phone while I was right beside him. The words weren't meant for me, but they tore through my soul like a blade. I read it once, twice, 100 times, hoping to find a mistake, an explanation, anything that could undo the pain. But there was no mistake. No misunderstanding. Just betrayal. And it wasn't just about the other woman. It was the lies, the whispers behind my back, the late nights he promised were work. I realized then that the man I loved had been living a double life. The worst part? She wasn't just a stranger. She was someone I thought was my friend. How do you face the truth when it's the last thing you want to see? How do you rebuild your world when the foundation you stood on is cracked and crumbling beneath you? I was left with two choices: bury the truth and pretend it never happened, or confront it and risk losing everything I held dear. This is the story of how I chose to burn the book of us, and why sometimes the hardest endings lead to the strongest new beginnings. For almost 6 years, I believed I had the perfect life. Not perfect in the fairy tale sense, but perfect enough for me. My name is Aisha, and for half a decade, I was married to Hassan, the man I thought was my soulmate. Hassan wasn't just my husband, he was my best friend, my partner in crime, the person I trusted with my deepest fears and wildest dreams. We met in college. He was the quiet, thoughtful type, while I was loud and a little reckless. Somehow, our differences clicked. People said opposites attract, but for us, it was something more. We built a life filled with inside jokes, late-night talks, and weekend getaways. Every moment felt genuine, even the imperfect ones. When he held my hand, I felt safe. When he looked at me, I saw a future I wanted to wake up to every day. But as much as I loved him, I wasn't naive. I knew relationships take work. We had fights, sure, small ones over forgotten dates or silly disagreements, but nothing that felt like a crack in our foundation. Or so I told myself. Hassan worked long hours, especially lately, and I tried not to let the silence between us grow. He'd come home tired, distant sometimes, but I convinced myself it was just stress. I told myself to be patient because love isn't always easy, it's messy and complicated, but worth it. I was a graphic designer working from home, which gave me flexibility but also a lot of time to overthink. Friends said I was too trusting, too hopeful. Maybe they were right. Maybe I was blinded by love. Her circle was small but close. There was Samira, my childhood friend who had always warned me to keep my guard up. "Not everyone deserves your heart, Aisha," she'd say, shaking her head when I talked about Hassan's long hours. But I brushed it off, calling her worries jealousy or pessimism. At home, we had our routines: morning coffee together, Hassan making me laugh with his terrible jokes, and quiet evenings watching old movies. I cherished those simple moments. They felt like proof that love was still alive, even when life was overwhelming. Then there was the little apartment we called home. Not fancy, but ours. The walls were covered with photos from trips and candid snapshots of us laughing, kissing, living. Every corner held a memory I clung to when things felt uncertain. I always thought love was about trust and loyalty, about sharing your life with someone who'd never let you down. But the truth I discovered? Sometimes, people wear masks so well that even their closest loved ones can't see what's behind them. Hassan was my world, my future. And the thought of losing him was unbearable. But that was before I found the secret that turned my world upside down. As I look back now, I realize our story was never as perfect as I imagined. Maybe it was the cracks I ignored, or the silence I refused to hear. Whatever it was, it led me here to the edge of a choice that would change everything. It started with a night like any other, or so I thought. Hassan had said he'd be late at work again. I barely questioned it anymore. Late nights were normal these days. But something inside me, a restless whisper, told me to wait up. Around midnight, I heard the familiar ping of his phone on the kitchen counter. I knew I shouldn't look. Trust was supposed to be the foundation of everything. But curiosity gnawed at me, and before I could stop myself, I picked it up. The screen lit up with a message from someone saved simply as L. My heart froze before I even read the words. It was a text that no wife ever wants to see. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Miss you. My hands trembled as I scrolled through the conversation. The messages were sweet, secretive, full of inside jokes I didn't know existed. I kept telling myself maybe it was a mistake, maybe. Elle was just a friend, and this was innocent. But the words screamed betrayal. I put the phone down as if it had burned me, my mind racing. Who was she? How long has this been going on? Was everything I believed a lie? For days I replayed every moment we'd shared. The late work calls, the secretive smiles, the times he said he was busy but never told me why. Doubt swallowed me whole. One evening, determined to find answers, I followed him after work. My heart pounded in my chest as I trailed behind him through dimly lit streets. He didn't notice me, not once. Then I saw him Hassan standing close to a woman I had never seen before. They laughed quietly, their faces inches apart. When she reached up and brushed his cheek, my world shattered. I wanted to scream, to run away, but I was frozen in place. My hands clenched into fists, and tears blurred my vision. I left before they noticed me, but the image was seared into my mind, the smile on her lips, the warmth between them. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind was a whirlwind of questions, pain, and disbelief. How could he do this to me? To us? When he came home hours later, tired and unsuspecting, I wanted to ask him everything, but the words caught in my throat. Instead, I whispered, "Who is she?" He looked at me, confusion flickering in his eyes. "What are you talking about?" That was the moment I realized I wasn't just facing a betrayal, I was about to uncover a secret far bigger than I imagined. After that night, everything inside me was a storm I couldn't calm. The secret message, the woman at the cafe, it haunted every quiet moment. I kept staring at my phone, my mind spinning in endless circles. Who was she? Why was he lying to me? Was this all in my head, or was my marriage really crumbling? I wanted to believe it was a mistake. Maybe an old friend, a misunderstanding. But deep down, I knew the truth was far more painful. I found myself replaying every conversation with Hassan in my head. Was there a hint I missed? A glance too long? A tone too soft? One evening, I finally broke down and confronted him. We were sitting in our living room, the silence thick like a heavy fog. My hands shook as I held his gaze. "Hassan," I said quietly, "there's something I need to ask." He looked tired but attentive. "Anything, Aisha." I took a deep breath, my voice barely above a whisper. "Who is Elle?" He blinked, confusion mixing with something else. Was it guilt? Fear? "What do you mean?" "The messages. The woman I saw you with. Tell me the truth." He hesitated. For a moment, I saw his walls crumble, a flicker of regret in his eyes. But then he masked it with a tired sigh. "It's not what you think." "Then what is it?" I demanded, desperation rising. Why lie to me? Why keep secrets? His silence spoke louder than any words. That night, I lay awake, torn between anger and heartbreak. Should I push harder? Or let it go, pretending everything was fine? But pretending was the hardest part. I couldn't eat, couldn't focus. Friends noticed the change. Samira called me one afternoon, concerned, sharp in her voice. "Aisha, you need to face this head on. Don't let him keep you in the dark." "I don't know if I'm ready," I confessed. "What if I'm wrong? What if it's all in my head?" "Trust your instincts," she urged. "They're rarely wrong." Every time Hassan's phone buzzed, my heart skipped a beat. I wanted to confront him again, demand honesty, but fear held me back. What if the truth destroyed us? Late at night, I'd sit by the window staring at the empty street, wondering how someone you love could become a stranger. I was caught in a web of doubt and hope, a silent battle raging inside me. Was this the end of us? Or just the beginning of a painful but necessary truth? The hardest part was not knowing. Not yet. Just when I thought I had reached the edge of despair, life pushed me even further into darkness I never saw coming. The next day, I couldn't resist the nagging doubt. I followed Hassan again, hoping to uncover the truth. But what I discovered wasn't just betrayal, it was a secret that tore open every wound I had been trying to heal. He wasn't just meeting a stranger or having a brief affair. No, it was far worse. I watched from the shadows as he entered a small, cozy cafe downtown, one I'd never seen him visit before. Minutes later, a woman joined him at the table. But it wasn't just any woman. It was Samira. My breath caught in my throat. Samira, the friend who told me to trust my instincts, the one who called me to face the truth. How long has this been going on? Was she the mysterious L from the messages? They leaned in close, their heads touching as they whispered, laughter bubbling between them. They looked happy, too happy. I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. The woman I confided in, who I believed had my back, was the one who had betrayed me. For a long moment I couldn't move. My mind screamed, but my body was frozen. How could two people I trusted the most conspire behind my back? The image burned in my memory, the way Hassan's eyes softened when he looked at her, the way Samira's hand lingered on his arm. I left before they noticed, tears blurring my vision. The betrayal wasn't just about love anymore, it was about trust shattered in every direction. That night, I confronted Samira. The confrontation was nothing like I expected. "Why?" I whispered, voice cracking. "How could you do this to me?" She looked at me with cold eyes I didn't recognize. "You were so blind, Aisha." Hassan wanted a fresh start. I gave it to him. Her words cut deeper than any knife. I realized then that the war wasn't just between me and Hassanet, was a battlefield littered with lies from the people I loved. The truth was uglier than I ever imagined. The day I finally confronted Hassan felt like stepping into a storm I couldn't escape. Every step toward him was heavier than the last, my heart pounding like a drum in my chest. I found him in our apartment, sitting on the couch, his face tired but calm-like. He was waiting for this moment too. "Why, Hassan?" I asked, voice shaking but steady. "How could you do this?" With Samira. He looked up, eyes filled with something I couldn't place. Regret? Shame? Or was it indifference? "I never wanted to hurt you, Aisha," he said quietly. "I thought I was doing what I needed to survive." "Survive?" I repeated, disbelief sharp in my tone. "By breaking my heart? By lying to me every day?" He ran his hands through his hair, struggling for words. "It's complicated. Things weren't working between us, and I felt lost. Samira was there when I needed someone." I took a shaky breath, fighting tears. "You made your choice. You didn't tell me. You betrayed me with my best friend." He looked down, silent for a moment. Then, almost painfully, he said, "I'm sorry, more than you know. But apologies weren't enough. Not now. Not after everything." Then, as if the world wanted to twist the knife deeper, Samira walked in. Her eyes locked with mine, and I saw no guilt, only cold certainty. "I told you, Aisha," she said softly, her voice like ice. "You were never enough for him." The words shattered me. I felt anger, heartbreak, and a crushing loneliness all at once. I looked at Hassan, searching for the man I loved, but all I saw was a stranger who had chosen someone else. In that moment, everything I believed in, the love, the trust, the future, crumbled to dust. I realized I had a choice: to fall apart or to rise from the ashes. That night, I packed a small bag with the bare essentials: clothes, a few photos, memories I wasn't ready to let go of yet. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't look back. As I stepped out into the cool night air, a strange calm settled over me. The pain was still raw, burning deep inside, but so was a flicker of something else: hope. Hope that I could rebuild, that I could find myself again outside the shadows of betrayal. I called a friend who had always stood by me, and for the first time in weeks, I let myself cry. Not from sadness, but from release. The weight of lies, secrets, and broken trust was lifting, just a little. Days turned into weeks. Hassan and Samira disappeared from my life as if they were ghosts I had exorcised. I focused on myself, on healing, on rediscovering the parts of me that had been buried under years of love and loss. It wasn't easy. Some nights the memories haunted me, the laughter, the promises, the betrayals. But I learned to face those ghosts, to accept the pain as part of my story, not the end of it. I started painting again, something I hadn't done in years. Each brushstroke was a step toward freedom, a reclaiming of my soul. One evening, as the sun set in brilliant oranges and pinks, I stood by the window of my new apartment, feeling stronger than I had in a long time. I realized something powerful. Sometimes, the people we love the most are the ones who hurt us the deepest. And sometimes, the hardest endings lead to the strongest new beginnings. I don't know what the future holds. Maybe Hassan will try to come back. Maybe I'll find love, again real love, this time. But one thing is certain: I am no longer the woman who waited in silence, who forgave betrayal to keep a lie alive. I am the woman who burned the book of us, closing that painful chapter forever. And now, I'm ready to write a new story, one where I am the hero of my own life.